Prepare for IELTS practice listening tests. This is Practice Listening Test 1. Turn to Section 1 of Practice Listening Test 1. Section 1. Listen to the conversation between Bob Wills, who was an international student advisor at a language school, and Angela Tung, who was a student, and complete the form. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5 on the form now. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. The conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hello, International Student Advisor's Office. This is Bob Wills speaking. Can I help you?
It's Angela Tung here, Bob. I'd like to make a request for special leave. Can I do that over the phone?
Hello, Angela. You can make that request by phone, but I'll have to fill the form out. Let me get the special leave form. Okay, here it is. Can you give me your student number, please?
It's H for Harry 5712.
H5712. Okay, and what's your address, Angela?
Angela's student number is H5712, so that has been written on the form. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, International Student Advisor's Office. This is Bob Wills speaking. Can I help you?
It's Angela Tung here, Bob. I'd like to make a request for special leave. Can I do that over the phone?
Hello, Angela. You can make that request by phone, but I'll have to fill the form out. Let me get the special leave form. Okay, here it is. Can you give me your student number, please?
It's H for Harry 5712.
H5712. Okay, and what's your address, Angela?
I live at 10 Bridge Street, Tamworth.
10 Bridge Street, Tamworth. And your phone number?
The telephone number's 810-6745.
Thanks. What course are you doing?
I'm in the writing class.
Writing. Who's your teacher this term?
Mrs. Green. She spells her name like the colour.
Thanks. When does your student visa expire?
Let me look. July 15.
July 15. Okay. Which term do you want to take leave?
Do you want dates?
First, I have to write a term number. When do you want to take leave?
In term 1.
Look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen to more of the conversation between Angela and Bob and answer questions 6 to 10.
Okay, term 1. Now, can you tell me what the exact dates are?
I'd like to be away May the 31st to June the 4th.
Okay, I've got that. You'll miss 5 working days between May the 31st and June the 4th. Is that right?
Only 3. I'll be away over a weekend. I'll be back at my classes on June the 5th, so that's 3 days away.
Why do you want to take leave, Angela?
I'm going to visit my Aunt May. She's my mother's sister. She and her husband are my guardians while I'm here.
Where do they live?
About 50 kilometres from here, near Armidale.
Do you have to take so long if they live nearby?
My mother is coming with me. She's come for a holiday, so she wants to have some time with May, and I want to spend some time with my mother too.
Aren't you going home soon?
I've applied to extend my time here. I expect to go home in 12 months.
That is the end of section 1. You now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You are going to hear a recording of instructions and advice which a woman called Martha has left for her friend John, who was coming to stay at her house and take care of it while she is away. First, look at questions 10 to 15. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 10 to 15.
Hello, John. Welcome to the house. I'm really pleased that you can be here to look after my house while I'm away. Here are some things you need to know about the house. Important stuff like when the garbage is collected. In fact, let's start with the garbage, which is collected on Friday. Just write garbage on the calendar on the days they take it away. Put it out on Friday every week. That'll be Friday the 22nd, Friday 29th and Friday the 5th. It's a really good service. The trucks are quiet and the service is efficient. The bin will be put back outside the house empty. It's a good idea to put it away quickly. This street can be quite windy. I once watched my next-door neighbour chase her bin the whole length of the street. Every time she nearly caught up with it, it got away again. The waste paper will be collected this Tuesday. That's Tuesday the 19th. There's a plastic box full of paper in the front room. Please put it out on Tuesday. The truck will come during the day. If you don't mind collecting old newspapers and other paper and putting them in the box, I'll put it out when I come home. The paper people only come monthly. I'll have some things to give to charity in a box in the front room. Would you put it out on Monday the 25th, please? It's a box of old clothes and some bed linen which I've collected, plus a few other bits and pieces. Be careful when you pick it up because it's heavier than you might expect. The charity truck will come by during the day on the last Monday of the month. If you want to use the library, you'll find it on Darling Street. I've left my borrower's card near the telephone. It has a very good local reference section if you want to find out more about this city. I'm sorry to say we don't have a cleaner. Oh yes, filters. Please, would you change the filters on the washing machine on the last day of the month, which is Sunday the 31st? We find the machine works much better if we change the filters regularly. The gas company reads the meter outside the house, so don't worry about that. I think that's all the information about our calendar of events.
Now look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen to the recording and answer questions 16 to 20.
Well, John, I'm trying to think what else I should be telling you. As you know, I'm going to a conference in London. I hope to have a little time to look around. It's a great city. I do hope I manage to get to at least some of the theatres and museums. I'm looking forward to all the things I have to do at the conference too. I'm giving a paper on Tuesday the 26th, and there are a couple of really exciting events planned later in the conference programme. I hope to meet up with an old teacher of mine at the conference. She taught English literature at my old high school, and we've kept in touch through letters over the years. She teaches now at the University of Durham, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. Oh, by the way, I expect you're hungry after your trip. I've left a meal in the refrigerator for you. I hope you like cheese and onion pie. Would you do me a favour, please? I haven't had time to cancel an appointment. It was made a long time ago and I forgot about it until this morning. It's with my dentist for a check-up on Thursday the 28th. Could you please call the dentist on 816-2525 and cancel the appointment for me? Thanks a lot, John. Oh, one last thing. When you leave the house, make sure the windows and doors are shut and set the burglar alarm. The alarm code number is 9120, enter. Have fun. I'll see you when I get back. This is your friend Martha saying goodbye.
That is the end of section 2. You will now have some time to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. In this section, you will hear a tutorial group discussing a case study relating to the education policies of the Government of Patonga. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Now listen to the recording and answer questions 21 to 27.
Now, we need to consider the education policies of the government of Patonga and its success in satisfying the country's future needs for an educated workforce. There's been much criticism of this government's policies because of the growing problem of unemployment, especially among the young people. How accurate is this criticism, Jeremy? Would you say that the government isn't helping unemployed young people to find jobs?
Well, it's not accurate at all, in my opinion. I think the government is well aware of the difficulties faced by these young people who are just coming out of high school and facing the prospect of finding a job. And not only that, but it's also aware of the problems of older workers whose jobs have disappeared because of the recent changes in technology. The government has, in fact, implemented several very successful schemes of financial support and retraining to address this problem.
It was suggested that the government link unemployment benefits to a nationwide system of community service. So, in such a system like that, the unemployed would be paid an allowance, as long as they do voluntary work in the community. So, they're being paid, they're learning basic and practical work skills, and the community is being helped. What do you think of this suggestion, Angela?
Yes, it's true that young people especially would gain some work experience that way, but administratively it would be quite difficult to try and follow through with a community service system for all unemployed people. More importantly, I think it's better if they provided job training suited to the country's technological future. What I mean is more vocational development and on-the-job training. The problem is that there is a lack of skilled workers in the areas of high-tech industries. That's really what Patonga's young people and the economy need. The country can't continue to rely on fishing and tourism.
Jeremy, you mentioned something about retraining programs. Can you tell us more about how these programs operate?
Yes, certainly. For example, the Upgrade program provides funding to employers who set aside a fixed part of their expenditure to train their employees in the use of upgraded equipment, and it assists the employers in the form of tax deductions in the purchase of new technology.
But Jeremy, isn't this program only helping those people who already have jobs in those industries? What's going to happen to all those people who are unemployed and after 6, 12, 18 months still can't find a job? Will the Upgrade program really be of any use to them?
Well, I think those people will be helped. You've got to look at the reasons why they're out of a job. The first reason is their lack of skills. Second is the problem most people seem to see with Patonga's economy. That is that industry can't go ahead without skilled workers, and that is what the country lacks. Bottlenecks have been created in the industry because of this. Now, if these workers can be trained, these so-called bottlenecks to the expansion of industry will disappear. The high-tech industries will expand and more jobs will be created.
Now look at questions 28 to 30. Now listen to the next part of the discussion and answer questions 28 to 30.
But let's consider the criticism the government is facing at the moment. Universities and other institutions in Patonga are deteriorating due to overcrowding. There just isn't enough space for these people who want to learn new skills. Would you agree with that, Jeremy?
Well, I'd have to disagree that they're deteriorating. In fact, Patonga has been really very successful in creating new education opportunities. 80% of all students complete high school. 10 years ago, the rate was only 50%. 190,000 new places have been created in universities in the last 9 years. I believe it's not a problem of places in colleges. It's a matter of balancing the skills to cover vocational education.
Could you elaborate on that, Jeremy?
Well, what I mean is that the actual number of graduates from universities and colleges has grown by 40%, but the number of graduates in the technical and vocational areas has fallen by 10%. So that is the problem Patonga needs to address in its education policies. Technical education has got to be more prestigious.
All right, Jeremy, but this still leaves out people who are without basic education and who've been unemployed for a long period.
Oh, well, for people out of work for longer than 6 months, the government set up a new scheme called the Job Find Scheme. Now, the Job Find Scheme encourages employers to take on those kinds of people, the long-term unemployed, again, by providing tax incentives.
But is that enough?
Oh, look, maybe things should be put into perspective. It's true that unemployment is high, but compared to 2008, when things were worse than they are now, there are fewer young people actually looking for a job. Just look at the statistics. There were about 450,000 people out of work in 2008, and now there are 290,000. And the actual percentage of young people unemployed is now 8%, compared to 12% previously. So the government's record in helping young people is actually quite good.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear an extract from a lecture on traffic management. First, you have some time to look at the questions 31 to 36. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 36.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Fisher, and I'll be lecturing on traffic management this term. Before we go any further, I thought you should look at the sort of problems we've inherited or received as a legacy from those before us is just the word for our situation. Many of our major cities were built long before the car was thought of, and the road system evolved from the go tracks followed by the early inhabitants. These we can refer to as old structure problems, and you can take the expression old structure to refer to problems which were in place before we saw the need to build efficient road systems. Old structure problems are easily demonstrated in London, New York, Sydney and Paris. Let's look at each city in turn. London has a most confusing road system, which is forgivable because it's a very old city. I'll talk more about the ring roads later. New York is laid out on a grid which makes it easier to find your way around. But it's an enormous city, and the sheer pressure of numbers strangles the roads. Sydney has narrow streets in the centre of the city, and the new roadworks are not keeping up. Paris has wide streets, but is still the victim of old structure problems, like Rome and Edinburgh. Tokyo is another city with old structure problems compounded by a huge population, like New York. Cities which do not have these old structure problems are Houston, Los Angeles, and Dallas.
Now look at questions 37 to 40. Listen to the second half and answer questions 37 to 40.
The thing which saves some of these cities is an effective public transport system, usually below ground. London has an old but effective underground train system known as the Tube, and a comprehensive bus and train system above ground. Hong Kong has cheap, swift and effective public transport in the form of mass transit railway buses and ferries. Paris has the Metro Underground Railway, which carries tens of thousands of people daily and a large bus system. New York has a comprehensive underground train system, but many people feel that it's dangerous to ride on it. There have been some nasty attacks. However, the trains themselves are efficient, so we have to call it a good system. Sydney has a good public transport system, but only part of it is underground.
That is the end of section 4. You now have some time to check your answers. That is the end of Listening Practice Test 1.